Why do we have the separation of powers? The separation of powers is a key feature of a democratic system of government. This system divides the state into three branches: the legislative, executive, and judicial branch, and gives each the power to fulfill different tasks. These branches are also known as the organs of government. Tasks are assigned to the different branches and their institutions in such a way that each of them can check the exercise of power by the others. As a result, no one branch or institution can become so powerful as to control the system completely. Why is the separation so important for any democracy? The separation of powers is important because it provides a vital system of checks and balances. Firstly, it ensures that the different branches control each other. This is intended to make them accountable to each other. These are the checks. Secondly, the separation of powers divides power between the different branches of government. These are the balances. Balance aims to ensure that no individual or group of people in government is all-powerful. Power is shared and not concentrated in one branch. That is why we also often refer to the separation and balance of powers. The main purpose of the separation of powers is therefore to prevent the abuse of power. Now that we understand why the separation of powers is so important, let's look at the separation of powers in South Africa. Our Constitution sets out the principle of the separation of powers and lays out the structure, roles, and responsibilities of the three organs of government in South Africa. Chapter 4 of our Constitution establishes the legislative branch. The legislature is also known as Parliament and consists of two houses, the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. This is where laws are debated and passed. The executive branch, as established by Chapter 5, includes the President, the Deputy President, and the Cabinet Ministers. The executive formulates policies and administers and implements the laws of the legislature and the court decisions of the judiciary. The third branch is the judiciary, established by Chapter 8 of the South African Constitution. This branch includes all the courts at the four levels of jurisdiction, as well as all the judges and magistrates working in these courts. The judiciary interprets and enforces the law and applies the Constitution in the name of the state. In contrast to the other two branches, which are made up of political party representatives, the judiciary has to be impartial and non-political. The separation of powers differs from country to country. In some democracies, there is a clear separation not only of the functions, but also of the personnel in each branch. In such systems, an individual cannot serve in more than one of the branches of government at the same time. In South Africa, we do not have this complete separation of personnel. Here, individuals can fill positions in two branches at the same time. Members of the cabinet representing the executive are also usually members of the National Assembly or Parliament, which is part of the legislature. The legislature controls the work of the executive. This happens through so-called oversight committees, which consist of members of parliament from different political parties. It is impossible to achieve an absolute separation. Some overlapping between the three branches will happen, especially due to the fact that the members of the cabinet and the majority of the MPs in the National Assembly are from the governing party. However, the separation between the judiciary and the other branches of government is usually very strict, as the judiciary must act independently and free from political influence. In South Africa, the judiciary has the power to oversee the executive and legislative branches of government. It checks the laws of the legislature for compliance with the Constitution and its Bill of Rights. It further monitors the work of the executive. The courts may declare invalid any exercise of power by the executive that is not authorized by law or that is in conflict with the Constitution. To summarize, why do we have the separation of powers? The existence of a formal distinction between the three powers is an important characteristic of democratic governance. The division of powers between the legislature, executive, and judiciary provides a vital system of checks and balances. The main purpose of the separation of powers in democratic government is to prevent the abuse of power by government officials. It ensures that the three branches control or check one another and are accountable to each other. This system further limits the power of each individual branch so that state power is shared.